Alright, so in this video we're going to keep on working on cost curves and actually kind of get down to some examples of calculating numbers of what is the cost of this and what is this cost at this unit of output, and just give you a little bit better feel for the kind of questions that you can expect to have on cost curves, and really, getting down to actually what are these things trying to represent, because they are really just trying to represent real costs for real firms. So the first thing I did when I brought this over is I just went ahead and labeled the axes, because that always helps me to understand graphs a little bit better. So in this graph on the left, our y-axis is labeled in dollars per unit of output, or dollars per quantity. And so without even looking at the graph anymore, without even looking at the legend over here, I immediately know that this is an average cost curve. So I'll just go ahead and write average costs. And then this graph on the right here, my y-axis is in just total dollars, just dollars not divided by anything at all. So I know immediately that this is a total cost curve. And then the next thing is that I want to go talk about the x-axis really quickly. So here we have quantity, units of output. And on this other graph I put number of workers. And the reason I did this, I could have put units of output here, and I could have, just put these exact same units, because one worker corresponds to 4 units of output, and in this case we were talking about surfboards in the last video, so we'll talk about surfboards again. So with 1 worker we made 4 surfboards, with 2 workers we made 12, with 3 workers we made 22, etc. And so I could have just transferred these numbers over here, but the reason I left it as it is right now is that I have to pay $1,000 per worker in my variable cost. So I thought that I would just leave it like this so that you can see the exact correlation, the exact relationship there. Alright, so after labeling the axes, the next thing that I did is I went ahead and picked out one set of points to start. And this will be all that we do for this video, and then I'll just kind of break it up by question as we go forward, and I'll do some other points, but I'll just break it up by video like that. So let's say that point A is $200 and point B corresponds to $133. So point A is right on the $200 line right here, and point B, which is on the average variable cost curve on this green line, corresponds to $133. So at 30 units of output, when we make 30 surfboards, and I'll go ahead and write this because this is going to be important later. So at Q equals 30, we know 2 things. When Q equals 30, I'll say then we know that our average total cost, because point A is on this purple line, we know our average total cost is equal to $200. And we know that our average variable cost, because point B is on this green line, which is average variable cost, we know that our average variable cost is equal to $133. So a question you might get asked, and one that you should be able to figure out, is what is, at 30 units of output, what is our average fixed cost? And rather than put this question mark, I'm just going to put an equals sign here. So what is our average fixed cost if our average total cost is $200 and our average variable cost is $133? Well, we know from, I believe it was 2 videos ago, I'm not exactly sure, that our average fixed cost is just average total cost minus our average variable cost, because that's how we define fixed cost, total cost, and variable cost. So if you go ahead and just substitute in 200 for average total cost, you get 200 for average total cost, and then 133 right here for average variable cost. You get 200 minus 133, which is just equal to 67. And I'm just going to go ahead and say right now that I worked this out ahead of time, so this really should be 66.666 repeating, but we're just going to round up to 67 for now. So that's our answer. We know that our average fixed cost is $67 per unit, dollars per Q. So what's another kind of question that we could be asked with these exact same set of points? Well, let's go ahead and pretend that we don't have this total cost here. So we have no clue what this total cost is here, and we only have this average cost curve on the left. So just looking at the left side, we found out that this point right here, and I'll label it C, that is equal to, if we were to go over here on the y-axis, and I'll try and draw as straight of a dotted line as I can, that would be $66 or $67. So another question we could ask is, what is total fixed cost? And I'll do this even in a different color. So let's go ahead and we'll go with pink. So what's our total fixed cost? Well, we know that our total fixed cost is just our average fixed cost times our quantity. So we figured out our average fixed cost when we were using this light blue color to be $67. So we have $67, and we know that we're at 30 units of output. We know that we're at 30 units of output because Q1 right here, which I wrote down over here, is 30. And you can see the 30 right there. So we have 67 times 30. And I went ahead and did the math ahead of time. And this is going to be, actually, you know what, I'll just go ahead and multiply it out so that we can all, so that I'm not kind of just doing that fool you kind of stuff. So we have 67 times 30, and I'll just do this really quickly. So you start with a 0, 0, start with a 0 because we're carrying over. 3 times 7 is 21, write the 1, carry the 2. 3 times 6 is 18, plus 2 is 20. So this is $2,010. And why I was saying that it really should be 66.666 is so that when we check our answer over on this graph, because remember we were pretending that we didn't have this graph, but checking our answer over here, we see that we got total fixed costs to be, we got it just to be a little teeny tiny bit over here, but that was just because we rounded. So had I not rounded to start with right up here, and had I made this 133.333 repeating, then we would have gotten 2,000 right here. And if that confuses you, let me know. Now that I'm thinking about it, it may be a little confusing, but I hope it isn't. So we can go from having an average cost curve to the total cost curve, and you need to be able to do that. So you need to be able to go from an average cost curve over to a total cost curve, and from a total cost curve, you need to be able to go back to the average cost curve. So we'll do one of those. We'll do from the total cost curve to the average cost curve in the next video. But the other thing that you need to know is that you need to be able to take any two cost curves. So you need to be able to take average variable cost and average total cost and find average fixed cost. Or you need to be able to take average fixed cost and average variable cost and find average total cost. And all of that you need to be able to do just with one of these graphs. And then a third thing that you need to be able to do is you need to be able to find marginal cost. And so that'll be another video completely in and of itself.